Live in Nashville, Tennessee. You are listening to the Nashville Daily Podcast. Nashville's #1 daily podcast. Brought to you by Think Nashville. Think Nashville. Think Brad. Think Brad. It's Nashville Daily Podcast.
Good morning, Nashville, and welcome to the Nashville Daily Podcast. My name is Stuart Deming, and I am the host of the Nashville Daily Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Brad Reynolds at thinkbrad.com. If you're looking for real estate here in the Middle Tennessee market, head over to thinkbrad.com. Also, subscribe to his YouTube channel. That's Think Brad on YouTube. Or you can call and text him 615-856-3270. We have a brand new podcast website called NashvilleDailyPodcast.com. You can head over there. You can see our archive of our episodes and learn all about Nashville. We have the show notes. We have everything there. Also visit thinkbrad.com while you're visiting websites. Joining me today in studio, you came on an episode about 400 episodes ago. I think it was like episode 500 and something. I can't remember. But joining me in studio is Nate Gott. Nate, who are you and what do you do?
I am a singer, songwriter, and producer, and I make music to help the world.
So what does that mean, you make music to help the world?
Well, as I live my life, I have experiences that are very significant to me. And but I also know that they are very relatable to others. So I create stories songs that reflect stories that I went through, that I learned from, that I share with the world to help other people learn from, or just have fun and enjoy. And so yeah, that's why I make music, to help people and to make people feel joy.
You have a really interesting background. You are from the Nashville area, mm-hmm. So would you consider yourself to be a Nashville unicorn?
Absolutely, 100%, absolutely.
So what does it mean to be a Nashville unicorn in your eyes?
Well, Nashville truly is an amazing city, and I'm very blessed and grateful to call this place my home. I've been to quite a few different cities, but Nashville has always just had a special place in my heart and a special element that I think is probably the reason why so many people are attracted to coming here, because there's a lot of culture that comes from all over the country and the world, but also there's just still this beautiful Southern hospitality that people have. There's just like a sweetness in the air that, is really refreshing for, a lot of people, here in the South. People are still going to church in the morning, and maybe if they're going hard and doing some crazy stuff during the week, they're still going to be showing up on Sundays and trying to get themselves right, So I feel like just Nashville is just a reflection of that with a lot of people's character, as far as the people that are from here and grew up here. But also the music scene and just the entertainment scene. It's just a freaking blast to be here, going down on Broadway and going to the bars. There's great music and, lots of drinks and lots of people just having just a great time, and just the sports. I mean, I could go on and on about this city, but being from here, being a Nashville unicorn, it's just cool that I get to say that, I am a part of this city from the start, Yeah,
that's really cool. And then you also have a very unique experience as well. You decided to go to MTSU, mm-hmm. which is Middle Tennessee State University, mm-hmm. and you were going to go get your degree in classic guitar. Is that correct?
Oh, it was actually jazz guitar. But I did study classical as well, though.
Okay, well, tell me the difference. I think I know the difference, but for the audience.
Right, yeah. So jazz guitar is, first off, like with classical guitar, we use a totally different type of guitar.
Okay.
It has nylon strings, which nylon strings are a lot softer, and they don't have, like regular guitars, most guitars that you see are steel wound, so they have like tiny little steel coils around the strings that gives it that kind of bright, shiny sound. But classical is the strings are made of a different material that gives it that beautiful sound. And also, you actually hold the guitar in a different way. You put your foot on top of this block and put it on your left leg, and you hold it up so you can play it different. A lot of guitar players called flamenco players play that. But yeah, so jazz is more so based off of like chord changes, jazz guitar, lots of improvisation, a lot of going outside the key, whether it be on purpose or not. It goes into jazz. There's a lot of theoretical stuff like modes and stuff that I could go into, but it's a totally different thing. But then classical is a lot more like
thoughtful.
It's a lot more thoughtful in a different way. It's very beautiful.
Yeah.
I really liked learning classical almost more than jazz, to be honest.
Do you think it's a different skill set?
In a way, I mean, it's a different style. I mean, it's still guitar, but I mean, with classical, a lot of times, a lot of classical players will grow out their nails
and play
on
with
their
their
right
nails.
hand and play with their nails. There's actually not a whole lot of guitar picking,
where
jazz guitar is a lot of guitar picking. So yeah, I mean, in a sense, it is for sure, but it's still guitar, so it's still kind of under the same world.
So during your experience at MTSU, what was the biggest highlight during that time?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, I really enjoyed myself at college, especially my freshman year. That typically happens with me when I, go into a school. The first year was always the most fun because everything's so new. But, I mean, I would say the highlight would probably just be an accumulation of highlights in the sense of the relationships I made and just the times that I had and just being so enveloped in music every day, all day, I mean, even to the point if, my teachers were wanting me to skip out on social events and practice in my room, I would sometimes, but sometimes I probably wouldn't practice as much as I probably needed to because I wanted to have me some fun. But yeah, just the whole college experience was just a blast, man. I loved it for sure.
You had something really interesting happen to you in college, and what was that?
Well, I had an A&R from Epic Records at the time somehow find me, and he offered me a developmental record deal.
What is that?
So essentially, how it works in the music industry is there's the major labels like Epic and Hitco, Interscope, Sony, all those guys. And then you got like sub-labels that will either...
They're primarily owned by Sony and all those other labels.
They're an imprint of Sony. And so they're kind of more so... in some ways, like they find certain like maybe smaller acts or certain acts that are maybe not the Justin Biebers yet, because like when you get to those major labels, a lot of times like you have to be kind of established in some way, shape, or form to get there. Granted, the music industry is so vastly different in so many facets, so anything can happen at any point, to be honest. But in my specific case, this guy, he was an A&R. So basically his job was to go out and find talent.
Is A&R account and research? Or is it, I can't remember what the A means.
That might be what that means. I'm not totally sure, to be honest, bro. But
the R is probably research.
Probably.
Most likely.
Probably.
Somebody's commenting on YouTube right now. They're like, you're wrong on all of this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, well, I don't really know what that stands for. But what basically his job is to...
Accounts receivable?
I don't know. But go and find talent, right?
Okay.
Find talent.
So a scout.
Essentially, a musical scout. Yeah, and find talent, sign them, and then develop them, get like hit songs for those people, then present them to a label, and then get them signed to the major label. So that's essentially what he did with me. So he found me, and he started just kind of like totally changing my way of writing and doing everything. He really like taught me how to be aware fully of what is totally current in the industry at that time, and to incorporate a lot of those elements into what I was doing, because even though I was already making commercial music, I was making stuff that was a lot more, I guess you could say, in some way, shape, or form, like original to me. And then there's arguments, for people say, well, with the whole label thing, because a lot of labels do that with artists, where, they'll find somebody who's doing one vibe, and they'll want them to make songs that are gonna be more likely to be a for sure sell to either labels or to the people once they come out, like for sure hits. And there's lots of different arguments. Some people can say, don't do that. Like, just stick to what you originally do, because originality is truly something very, very special and unique to every artist. And I feel like I've definitely kept my originality in a lot of ways, but like in what he brought to me, I was kind of almost already doing. So, but all that to say, he just taught me a lot about how to write consistently great songs that can continually get me lots of opportunities, and also just get me in lots of different rooms. So that's basically what he did. He got me with a bunch of different producers, and quite a few, and got me some meetings with some different people, some different writers. I made a bunch of awesome relationships and a bunch of awesome songs that are still some of the best in my catalog right now. And right now I'm working on a bunch of songs to put out as this year goes forward. And some of those songs were the ones that I made while I was with him, so just working with him and just developing my craft. What I got out of it was a big K-pop placement overseas. One of the songs I made,
which is awesome. That's really cool.
It is really cool.
It's not that often that you hear of songwriters in Nashville getting an international placement.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely grateful. It goes back to the all about it's all about who you know.
Yeah, that's the music. All business is relationship. So
yeah, for it is, but it's also in music, it's about who you know, and can you consistently write great music. I've heard people say, "Oh, wait till your second write to write the best song." You know what I'm saying? Like for me, like what I learned with him was to bring a certain intensity to it, to where every single song that I ever write, whether it's by myself or with someone else, like I have the intention to write a hit song, but yeah, anyways, what I essentially got out of that was a big placement out of it, a bunch of different awesome relationships.
Did that song end up charting in the K-pop world?
It did, actually. The album that the song was on ended up charting in the category of world albums. It went all the way up to number 6.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which was really cool. It's my first Billboard placement, which was really cool. But yeah, so just doing that, and I did have some looks at some different people for some deals, but they ended up not being really the best situation that I could have gone into. So I ended up going on my own, and kind of starting to pave my own way, and then everything I got after that was all things that I got on my own.
So you have some other placements for some other artists as well.
Yep.
Tell me about the other placements.
So another placement that I have was for this really cool boy band called 4th Ave. They were created on this show called Boy Band, and this show was created by my favorite producer ever, Timbaland. And basically it was like a show that they got all these different guys, And
did they all know each other beforehand?
no, they didn't. They
Okay.
didn't. It was like from all over the country. Got all these guys on there, and they, with the intention to make different boy bands, they put them all together at different times to see how they all vibed and sounded together. And then at the end, like when they got out, like there were quite a few different boy bands that were all a part of that from that show. So this group, Fourth Ave, they were one of them from that show. And when I got out of my deal, my developmental deal, and I started putting out some of the songs that I did under contract, somehow I just organically, one of the managers ended up finding me or like hitting me up on Instagram. I don't know how, but it's just like that's just how the music is. It's like if you consistently put out great stuff, then organic stuff like that will happen. So he reached out, and now he's actually my manager now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is really cool. But he reached out and kind of got me connected with the guys there, and then I got connected with their other manager. So basically, in the boy band, like they have their manager, which is a guy
for the whole band.
For the whole band,
and then every
each
individual
member
artist
has their own
manager. That's confusing.
Right? Yeah. It does get confusing, but it's part of the game. But anyways, so I got connected with one of the members. He's super dope R&B singer, Marcus Pendleton. Super dope. And he hit me up. He was like, "Yo, Nate, like, why don't you come through and let's work?" And so I ended up connected with him and this other guy, Roxo, at Roxo's place, and we ended up just started to write. And the first one we made was really cool. They really liked, but then the second one that we made ended up being the one that was on the album, on the EP of Fourth Ave. So. And how that happened was we just got together, made this really awesome song, made a great demo. I think, and then we didn't work together for a while. Like I didn't see them for a long time. And then I think like Marcus was with his other band members, and he ended up showing the song that we did. It was called World to them, and they were like, "Man, this is amazing! Like this has got to be on it." So it's just another organic thing where they just, I wasn't like, "Hey, let me pitch this to you." Like he was already in the group, and it was like just showing them something that he was excited about. A lot of times that's one of the best ways to get cuts is to work with the artists themselves, so that's kind of what happened with that. So what ended up happening was they did that, but then one of the members left. He is signed to Empire now, and so it ended up just being the three of them. And they made this final EP called Detour, and it was produced by the boy band's manager, Adam Blackstone, who is a huge musical director. He is like the biggest musical director in the game. Like, and a musical director is somebody who produces and arranges the live shows for huge artists. Like he did like Justin Timberlake, Nicki Minaj, Rihanna, all those huge guys. But he was also producing and managing Fourth Ave too. So he ended up producing the song. It was quite a bit different than the original version.
Okay.
Which, some people, say is one way and some other people say is another way. But I was just grateful to get the placement, and it was really cool to be a part of what they were doing. So yeah, that's kind of how that happened with them.
So let's zoom in a little bit on the singer-songwriter aspect. Nashville is the capital of singer-songwriters in the world. More people move here. Instead of just pursuing a music career, they're pursuing singer-songwriter. So what does that look like from a day-to-day basis for you being a local and doing the activity and work of a singer-songwriter?
Right. Well, I mean, I will tell you what, man, it is a lot of work. I mean, for me, everybody's different, you ask somebody else, they'll probably say something slightly different or something. But for me, it's like I basically have two jobs, right? I have my day job, and then when I get home, I am working on music. And what I was doing before was, when I was under my developmental label, I was just writing songs, and then making demos that were pretty like not really very developed, not really.
And then this label would then send it out to other labels to try pitching that song to other artists and all of that,
Well, actually,
right?
no. In that case,
okay.
he was just trying to send stuff for me. He
Okay.
wasn't. He was trying to get me a deal as an artist.
Yeah.
Which is really funny because, you know, for most of my career, I've been really trying to pursue being a writer, but I've actually had quite a bit more success, and a lot of people that have signed me, have wanted to get me signed as an artist.
Yeah.
Which is, it's like nowadays it feels like it's like all the same, you know.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was writing, and then when I got out of there, it was just writing. But I was making all these demos that were very like underdeveloped in a lot of sense because like
from a composition standpoint, or more of a lyrical standpoint?
From a recording, because when you just write the song, you can write the song and it's great.
Yeah, but then you go record it.
But then you got to go record it. And in my personal experience, I mean, this might be quite different than a lot of other people, but in my personal experience, the songs that I've gotten cut, the recordings were incredible. In my personal experience, demos have not gotten placed. For me, the songs that have gotten placed are the songs that are fully developed, fully recorded, fully mixed, fully mastered all the way. They're not demos. They are records. Then you send those, then those get placed.
Okay.
So for me, I've been writing, building up my catalog. And then I was working with my songwriting group, the Greater Than Collective, that was created with my friend Zach Jablo, who you said you knew, and then some of the guys at Brain Candy, my previous
Actually,
management.
I believe Aaron will have to correct me on this, but I think Zach was on our podcast, like episode 100.
Oh,
Something
yeah?
like that. Yeah, it's been a long time.
Man, he's my bro, man.
Yeah.
I miss that guy. He's out in L.A. But
Yeah,
he's
because
killing
we
it.
talked about Chingy, we talked about all of these guys he worked with in Chicago.
Yeah. He's been around. He's worked with some big dogs for sure. But we have a songwriting group called the Greater Than Collective, and it's me and him and this other guy, Haterade, who's a super dope EDM producer, Tony, who is one of the guys over at Brain Candy, and this other guy, Jay Putty. Just a bunch of really dope guys. And so we were working hardcore, just writing songs, just building up catalogs. That was kind of cool because having a bunch of producers that could send me just tracks and then I could top line over them, that helped out a lot because before I was doing it all. You know, I was writing and producing. And to really make greatness, it takes time, you know. And for me, like, I'm not the type, like, to just, like, settle for just an idea, like especially if I'm trying to get it actually on the market, like, I'm going to be spending the time to really make it exactly what it's supposed to be. So that helped out, but still, you know, I mean, it was still, you know, we had some songs get looks. Like we had a song, because I actually did some top lining work for my K-pop team overseas. They kind of did a similar thing that I was doing with the Greater Than Collective, where they would just send me tracks and I would top line over them.
Okay.
So it was a similar situation, and we had some people want some of the songs that we did in the Greater Than Collective, but ended up not working out because of some political stuff, like the publishing and stuff.
Okay.
And because that's a whole nother avenue with the music industry.
Yeah, it's all politics.
It's so political, bro.
Yep.
And so you can make these great songs, but you got to get all your, you know, publishing and all your, you know, contractual jargon and all that stuff figured out too. That's why it's really important to get a lawyer for anyone listening too. But yeah, so anyways, building up this catalog of just all these great songs, right? But then not putting them out, you know, and either because of political stuff or because they need some more development to be able to put out fully and to be like, okay, this is the best it could have possibly been. This is fully mixed and mastered and everything. So what my mission has been especially with my new manager, is to take the best songs in my catalog and develop them out to the fullest extent. Like, get the vocals just crazy, get the tracks crazy, like, doing stuff, like, produce them how I've always wanted to. You know, a lot of times, like, I'd have songs where I'd be like, hey, here's this vibe. You know, here is this idea in a sense. And to some people, it probably sounds like a fully developed track. But to me,
it's still missing. It's missing those little undertones.
Absolutely.
It's missing those additional beats.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The beats, the mixing, the frequencies, all of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
and frequency is a really important conversation that a lot of musicians do not have.
Man, it's crazy. Like, the mixing is so fun, but mixing is so, like, to do it at an extremely high level takes serious knowledge and a lot of things. I mean, you got to have the ear, which I do know that I have the ear, but I'm still learning how to be able to, make my songs radio ready on my own.
And the thing about songwriting, and that a lot of people, I think, don't think about this, is you're telling a story in that song. And so the music and the composition of all of it is telling a story that you want the world to know.
Absolutely.
And a lot of songwriters would say that, but it's so intentional on where you need to be placing those different things,
right,
so that people can feel those emotions while listening to that song.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it also, like for me, okay, so, like, the last song that I put out was called Wish You Were, which...
And I think I listened to it. You came out with it like 4 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
I definitely have listened to it.
Yeah. So I was super, super happy with that. And like, what goes into that with the arrangement was, like, all the guitar work. Like, I don't know if you caught in the first verse, but the guitar rhythm and stuff was totally
And I
different.
assume you were doing that.
I was doing it all. I produced that song fully myself.
That's awesome.
All of it, completely. Same with Used To, too.
Yeah.
But, so, like, doing all that, I had to come up with all these different parts. Because, I mean, for me, like I said, it's different with everybody. For me, I like to really blend the organic instrumentation and elements with the electronic elements. So for me, like, having that blend, like, I have to come up with how to keep the energy up in a certain way to the fullest extent with different elements, like my acoustic guitar, electric guitar, real bass. I like to have real bass, but I also like to have electronic bass. I like to just have everything in it. And with that song specifically, that song was almost kind of like a, what's the word? Kind of like a rappy singy song. Like, there's other songs that I'm going to be having come out later this year that are a lot more like songy songs. That's like the melodies,
like repetitive, like
this one was more repetitive.
Okay.
The other ones, like, the melodies are a lot more like thought out and more dynamic and a lot more. There's just a kind of a different vibe. But all that to say, like, with Wish You Were, I produced it fully myself, coming up with the arrangement, the vocal arrangements, everything that was going on, doing that, and then getting it mixed. And Zach actually mixed it. He mixed and mastered it. But for us, we went back and forth quite a bit to be able to execute my specific vision for the mix, because, you can have a mixing engineer mix your song, but they're going to naturally have their own creative input as far as how they mess around with the frequencies. And messing with the frequencies in different ways can make the song sound like almost a completely different song.
Oh, hands down.
So we were going back and forth, making sure that it was exactly what I envisioned in my head. And so finally, when we got it to that point, putting it out, it felt totally perfect, exactly what I wanted it to be. So, yeah. So all that to say, to answer your question, what does it feel like being a singer-songwriter, like, in Nashville? It's a lot of work, and for me, like, a lot of striving for perfection. Like, at least in this point in my career, that I'm not really just writing, but I'm, like, actually working on developing out these songs to put them out fully. My sole mission for this year and working on these songs is to strive for perfection and to put out music that greatly reflects me to the fullest extent. But also, like you said, the frequencies affect the feeling, and the listener. So that's also been my intention, to showcase the stories and to help people, to help comfort people in different areas in their life that I feel like I would have needed comfort if I was hearing them, if I was someone else. But also just to give people just a great amount of joy and to just have fun and just bop, So,
Yeah. What piece of advice would you give to future singer-songwriters or current singer-songwriters?
Man, I would say to just strive for perfection. I mean, it's kind of a vague thing, but like to just every song, like to just have the intention to make the greatest song you've ever made. I mean, if you are in the industry and you're a singer or a songwriter or both, your competition are the greats out there. I mean, my competition is the Chris Browns, the Bazzies, all the guys. If you want to be in the game and in the music industry for real, you have to strive to make stuff that is better than that. So I would say just continually bring an extreme intensity to every song that you make and in everything that you put out.
So for the thumbnail for this episode, for this podcast episode, it's you looking at the Ryman Auditorium. And I thought that was really interesting because the photo that I used, you look like Elvis Presley. And he played at the Ryman once, and he was booed off stage. A really fascinating story. Yeah, and they don't want to tell that story, but that's what happened. But what is, like, if you were performing live, what is your dream venue that you want to perform at?
Man, the Ryman would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. I mean, for me, if I got to play at Bridgestone, I feel like I could die a happy man as far as like my performances go. Bridgestone, just because I've been to a ton of concerts there, and just being there, it's like the biggest stadium, the biggest venue for music that we have here in Nashville. Living here, it would be amazing to perform at the Bridgestone.
Well, Nate, thank you so much for coming on the show. Where can people follow you on social media?
You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, everywhere at Nate Gott, NateGott. Thank you for having me on the podcast, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and that's your artist name as well for Spotify and Apple Music,
Nate
correct?
Gott, yes. Nate Gott is my artist name, Spotify and Apple Music, yes.
Thank you for listening to the Nashville Daily Podcast. Make sure to head over to NashvilleDailyPodcast.com. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Nashville Daily Podcast, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. We hope that you have a great day. Thank you for listening to the Nashville Daily Podcast. If you want to learn more, head to NashvilleDailyPodcast.com.
You can also follow us on social media at explore.nash on Instagram, Nashville Daily Podcast on YouTube, and explore.nash on YouTube as well.
The Nashville Daily Podcast is an Explore LLC production, copyright 2023.